Welcome to the bold analysis. The bipartisan talks did not start today because the two parties did not agree on where to start. And they have taken that recommendations of the TOR to the technical team that was formed by the two committees. If you ask me, it's part of the delaying tactic. Now, at the center of deadlock is this controversial. I want us to use the word controversial because it will give it a gist. To the eye of Kenya Kwanza, the position of opposition leader, creation of office of opposition leader, is at the center of bipartisan talks. And I want to get some 4 arguments that Kenya Kwanza has brought on table. Number 1, and I got this from the interview by Chief Whip Silvanus Osoro, and this has always been raised even by Kimani Ichung'wah in the past. I was just speaking to what they have been saying even in the past. Kenya Kwanza has demanded that the office of the opposition leader, if that office is going to be funded by taxpayers' money, then that office will not be viable to receive donation from foreigners, funding from foreign organizations. You know, just like in the country, political parties are sometimes also funded by some other donors. So if they're going to be funded by government, then it's going to be regulated that they don't receive donor funding. It's very selfish, if you ask me, because even government is funded by taxpayers' money, but they still get donor funding. But the truth here is it's creating the firewall to restrict that office exactly so that it can be at the mercies of the ruling coalition. I want to look at the other 3 concerns or other 3 issues that Kenya Kwanza has raised. But before I move further, allow me to remind you about this Brian appeal. This gentleman here was hit by the police during the last protest in Kisumu, Nyalenda, and he died 7 days later. So as the bold, I had a discussion with the mother, and we only opted, of course, they have collected and they've also got some other support, but they have a deficit. So out of that deficit, what we are going to offer is 50,000 that we are asking supporters of the bold. As of now, I started at 4 p.m. today, Monday. Yeah, we are now doing 17,490. So we opted to collect that money and send. So we're going to send tomorrow midday. We'll send directly to the mother of Brian so that it goes into this. I've spoken with her, and that is what I've agreed. Tomorrow midday, imsaidie at least to cover something, casket, and they are also talking about some transport. It's going to take care, support them. That's what the bold will do, and that is why I may also remind you about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya Kwanza has also argued that they have demanded that the position be created, and there was a discussion of, is the leader of opposition allowed to address parliament once in a year, just like the president? Now, in the context of how it has been happening even in the US and other jurisdictions, the opposition leader is supposed to address parliament. However, to some political observers within the ruling coalition, there is a feeling that it is going to elevate that office to the rank of the president, and that is going to decimate the likes of Rigathi and UDA-devide, that the leader of opposition leader is going to work in the rank of the president. And people that are looking at political optics are feeling that while the creation is seen, William Ruto wants to project it as his own making, but is also going to elevate the office of the opposition leader. Remember, this is not just about now. There is going to be an opposition leader even after 2022. So if it is fixed now, probably that opposition leader after 2027, that opposition leader after 2027 might benefit. You never know who that person is going to be. So that argument has also been very contagious, that Kenya Kwanza is demanding that the opposition leader is restricted to parliament and probably works in the ranks of Kimani Chungwa, and even if it to sit in parliament, is supposed to be someone going to parliament so that he whip the members of the opposition, which is a total lie that opposition leader is supposed to whip members in parliament, because the members of parliament do not listen to their leaders. They do not listen to the numbers, the tyranny of numbers. Parliament is controlled from State House. So even if opposition leaders are supposed to go and to have an office and operate within parliament, he's not going to have more numbers because he's there, because the MPs will still listen to their master who sits in State House. So it's a very hypocritical argument that, but I do believe that while people are looking at it politically, but to elevate that office, honestly, should also address the parliament. Number 3. While the position, there has been an argument of, is that position created for the runner-up in the election? But there should be a clause that the person who is runner-up should be the leader of the opposition leader. But that person should be able to appoint anyone within the minority side. He has the choice of picking someone to be the opposition leader. Like when he's the official of the opposition, but he has the obligation of picking someone else, and he's also the person who's going to pick the deputy opposition leader. Now, in Azimio la Umoja, you can clearly see that there is a big question between Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua. Martha Karua is supposed to be the deputy opposition leader if Raila Odinga is the opposition leader. But if Raila decides to leave that position and give it to someone else, is he going to give it to Martha Karua or Kalonzo Musyoka? The other question here is, Martha Karua has a weak party. And again, that opposition leader should actually be the person to face William Ruto in 2027. Is Martha Karua the person facing Ruto or Kalonzo Musyoka? So that contention is that it is a trap being set, and I'm going to explain more about why Raila Odinga must be very careful about this. Lastly, there is which route to be used. Kenya Kwanza has insisted that they have to avoid, that they must circumnavigate this position, and it must be created the parliamentary way. Now, that puts that position under the mercies of the president. But remember, William Ruto is walking in a very thin line, because while it alters the structure of government and it's for it to be anchored in law and to be safe, not that someone can always wake up in the morning and remove that position, they've always demanded it for it to go to a referendum. But William Ruto will not want a referendum, because the public, that a referendum will pass a vote of no confidence against him, and that will be the end of his 2020, that will be the end of his term. So they are at a cross line. Do we allow it that way or not? And this is why, because of those 4 points, this is why Raila Odinga must be very careful. Very careful, and I'm repeating, very careful, because Ruto will clearly use that, President William Ruto will clearly use that position to ripple and to tear Azimio la Umoja in the middle. Just a single clause. In fact, what is the creation? You know, the creation of that office is just to institutionalize it. And they should actually be allowed. They should not allow, Azimio la Umoja should get this. They should not allow the law to make it fixed that they cannot organize themselves. that it is that law to organize them, because it will be made, the vector will be pointing at one person. Kenya Kwanza will allow, and they must be very careful, because it will be allowed to only make that vector to point at one person, maybe Raila Odinga, because that's what they own. They know very well that creation of that office, if it's tweaked a bit that Kalonzo Musyoka can take it, Raila sits back, they don't want to make Kalonzo Musyoka the candidate. William Ruto wants Raila to be the candidate in 2027. That's what. So it will be used in every way to suppress any other person that will take it apart from Raila Odinga. And so that is why I tend to believe that Azimio la Umoja must deploy the best lawyers and give it a wide eye, so that it's very flexible. Because again, it's not about Azimio la Umoja. They should not allow it to be formed as a weapon against Azimio la Umoja. It should be for posterity. And that is why I believe that it will go to referendum. The other second observation why Raila Odinga must tread very careful on this is because I see a possibility of Kenya Kwanza packaging this as a favor. Yes. Remember, William Ruto wrote a letter, the president wrote a letter last December to the two speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate, proposing the creation of that office. They should find, I don't know, tweak with the law and find how it is done. And the Azimio team said, no, thank you, but no. The route is not. They actually said it's fine, but not the parliamentary route. So, whichever way, if they walk out of bipartisan talks with that and rush to parliament and make it, it will be made as a political favor, as a tool. And when it is packaged that way, they will be confined to boardroom. In fact, it will be in exchange. The Kenya Kwanza team are a team running a lot of propaganda. They will leave Bomas and go to Mount Kenya or go to somewhere, but most probably they will go to Mount Kenya and tell the Tugeges that we have stopped maandamano by giving Mzee opposition leader. So that it will be created to end hostility, that you cannot complain about government. The truth of the matter here is there is no government which is perfect, and anyone sitting pretty comfortable that me is serikali sawa, that person is lying to himself. So William Ruto knows very well that there are a lot of policies that are being churned and they are very disruptive. What's happening in sugar sector, what's happening in agriculture, what's happening in coffee, what's happening in education. There is a lot. What's happening in the political parties. There is a lot of disruptions. And so this will be created to give someone some soft space, some comfortable room. And the headroom, you know, the headroom is the distance between what you're seeing up here. This is the headroom. Chance unaona hapa. Azimio headroom will be very small, that they will not raise anything. And that is why I will take a better devil. Let the office be institutionalized and don't depend on government funding. Because if you depend on government funding, then it is going to be a weapon against you. One thing here is, when you raise issue about this is wrong, you'll be told, oh, nyinyi mnapiga kelele sababu ya hii, hata hiyo pesa tuwapei. That office will be grounded. Even that salary will not be paid. And by that time, you guys have had a team. You've employed, you know, they are already security. They are already secretary, advisor, lawyer. They're already a full-fledged office. So they rather run that office and allow it, okay, fine, pay what government can do, pay a percentage, and let them accept and allow it to be funded by donors. Because that may not be controlled by here. Lastly, William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, is looking for company, is looking for brothers in crime. And so, Azimio la Umoja should not allow themselves to be Ruto's brothers in crime. In fact, they should not allow themselves to be part of the problem. Whichever way, this creation, this office must create the separation. We are not in government. It should not be understood like, okay, they're in government. You will be told, what are they saying? Their cars are fueled by government. We've paid for their office. We paid for their security. They should not complain about this government. They are part and parcel of this government. Oh my goodness, I hope I've gotten this the way it is. It should not be packaged, and they must be very wary. In fact, they're getting money from political party. They're getting money for subscription. Let them work with donor funding. Maybe salary lipos. But the moment you start being told that, look here, we are paying your house, we've given you house allowance, we've paid you, you don't know what, you've given you some few ministerial positions, they should not even go for those ones. We've given you some ministerial, some cabinet positions, we've given you some parastatals, I don't know, we've given you, don't take those ones because those are going to be trumps. You'll be given some one cabinet, one parastatal, some ambassadors here and there. Then it will be used against you. Now, if Azimio is mobilizing to mount a presidential contest against William Ruto, then the best thing is to avoid him. Avoid Kenya Kwanza. Otherwise, the narrative here is you will be disarmed by being told that you are part and parcel of the problem. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let's meet in the next. And those who are contributing, tafadhali tusaidieni as I plan to forward this by Tuesday midday, because I started at 4. I realized there's some people that are still adjusting. Of course, by midday, whatever we shall collect, we shall just do 1 hour to top up, then send by midday. Thank you.
Mama, iwacho ni ng'anyo moro mane mar ariyo ni.
Mar ariyo mane otim for 3 days no. Koro kech nochako Wednesday, Thursday, kaso Friday, ko Friday mano goye. Koro tieko koro kako otero hospital to bedo in coma. Koro otieko 1 week kendi ko okete oxygen. Oketo
wantie iko kete oxygen
ken coma okete oxygen. Koro otieko 1 week agik Sunday.
Agik Sunday to.
Koro tieko mana 1 week. Koro chiem to kunen. Koro kagi Sunday yote kako.
Agoni mos makende wago mos maduong' ahinya. Nen wuodi maradi?
En chogo, en wuoda mar auchiel.
En wuodi mar auchiel. To notimo ang'o Kisumu?
Kisumu nyoto tiyo mane hotel.
Nyoto tiyo mane hotel, Mos ahinya nawachne to koro owacho ni useyudo kaka inyalo ang'o wacho ni useyudo cha
kaka inyalo chul bill
mar hospital. Ne nitie nyaka mar hospital
ne nitie nyaka mar hospital gi mar michari koro fodore ndia gine beche ma winjo joga godala kaka dhi ome kaso gidhiang' be pok oyudi kech ng'eni joluo to nyaka welo ama boyo nyaka be chiem. Koro mago poni kanyo matindo go.
Koro nitie gima nowuok e telo maduong' lakini pod ok oromo.
Pod ok rom.
Okay.